Klonoa Phantasy Reverie Series is a near-perfect package of remasters that stands confidently as one of the greatest platforming series of all time. Haven't heard of Klonoa? I wouldn't be all that shocked, as these games did not manage to achieve the popularity like many other platformers did at that time, like the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon series. Talk to anyone who has played Klonoa before, however, and you're almost guaranteed to hear an earful of why this series is one of the most delightful and fun games within the platforming genre. This is why I am here making a video about Klonoa Phantasy Reverie Series, so I can make sure you know what you're getting into if you decide to make the purchase. I also, low-key, really want Namco to make Klonoa 3, so ulterior motives aside, let's get into what you're getting from this package of remasters. Klonoa Phantasy Reverie Series is a compilation of the first two Klonoa games, remastered in high definition for every current platform that you can think of right now. The first game is Klonoa Door to Phantomile, a game that was originally released in 1997 back on the PlayStation 1. The version included in this collection is not that of the PS1 original, but rather of the Wii remake that was released nearly 15 years ago. Instead of the adorable and simple 2D sprites and pixelated graphics of the PS1 game, we now have a much more vibrant, cartoonish aesthetic, replacing the 2D sprites with fully 3D characters, enemies, items, etc. Just think of this as an additional touch-up from the Wii remake, as the developers have given the game a boost in brightness and included a more colorful color palette, while also staying very true to the original PS1 game in level design and features. The second game in the package is no other than Klonoa 2 Lunatea's Veil, which most would argue, myself included, as being the best Klonoa game and one of the greatest platformers in the genre. Klonoa 2 was released in 2001 on the PS2, and while the PS2 version still looks great, the remaster up-resed the textures greatly and accentuated the colors a bit to make this game just pop a bit more. I absolutely love the changes in graphics that were done here in the remasters, although I'm sure some purists of the series will be disappointed in not having the option to play the original games, especially Door to Phantomile as it appeared on the PS1. Gameplay-wise, Klonoa is a 2.5D platformer, in which our adorable cat rabbit Klonoa ventures into dreams of those whose nightmares plague their thoughts and create sorrow in their lives. I'll get into the story briefly in a bit, but just know that you'll be traveling to some truly zany worlds that really feel every bit as dreamy as they actually are. Klonoa can run left to right along a 2D plane along a course throughout a 3D level, meaning the 2D plane will curve frequently around landmarks, showing off different perspectives of the levels. Many of the paths will branch off, and the camera will follow Klonoa along these 2D paths that really give you a grand scope of the environments these levels take place in. The gameplay is quite simple, as Klonoa can run, jump, and glide as his main platforming moveset. Klonoa can't just jump or dash into enemies though, as any sort of direct contact with Klonoa will hurt him, unlike many other platformers. Instead, his trusty wind ring allows Klonoa to fire off wind bullets at enemies, inflating them into adorable balloons which Klonoa lifts above his head. From here, Klonoa can fire the enemies along the 2D paths, or toward or away from the camera, often unlocking secret collectibles, health, or advancing through a puzzle. Klonoa can also use the enemies to propel him further into the air in a useful double jump maneuver. Klonoa is a very basic game, but one that challenges the player more in its level design and puzzles rather than difficult enemy encounters. Klonoa is a puzzle platformer through and through, and the puzzles get increasingly more complicated the further into the respective games you go. Klonoa 2 adds some great variety and expansion to how the levels are played by including some 3D sections to the game, like boarding down a water chute or flying atop a bird. Special enemies see their debut in Klonoa 2, with tasking players to change the color of a special enemy type to match a barrier's color to progress through the stage, adding more complexity and puzzle solving to the gameplay. These levels aren't the most challenging to complete, as most players can probably complete these levels without much of a problem. Both of the games have 6 hidden collectibles in each of the game's stages that can often provide some additional challenge in finding them and obtaining them. If a player finds each of these collectibles throughout all of the stages, new bonus stages will unlock in their respective games, giving players more of an incentive to complete each level. As with many platformers, there are, of course, boss fights. These are fun fights for the most part and take great advantage of the 2.5D gameplay that really makes Klonoa a unique series. Although Klonoa 2 definitely has some more interesting and varied boss encounters, they are still very enjoyable in Klonoa 1 and certainly highlights the boost in quality of Klonoa 2 over the first game. Everything from the level design in Klonoa 2 to the boss design, story, and general feel of the second game makes Klonoa 2 feel like a more polished game. That's not to say Klonoa 1 isn't great, because its gameplay has definitely withstood the test of time. Briefly talking about the story, Klonoa ventures into the dreams of those whose nightmares cause sorrow in their lives, and it's up to you to guide Klonoa through these dreams with his trusty wind ring in hand to eradicate the nightmares to restore happiness to its owner. Sound zany? It certainly is. Voice acting is adorable, although the audio in the Door to Phantomile in this compilation needs some serious work. The voice audio sounds muffled and muted when compared to Klonoa 2's voice audio, creating a jarring disparity between the wonderful 3D backgrounds with alarmingly dated voice audio accompanying it. To those who have played this remaster, have you picked up on this as well? Music is another key component to these games, and the soundtrack masterfully transports you to these whimsical worlds with incredibly memorable tracks that hit hard with nostalgia to those who've played the games before. The score expertly tells the tale of the particular level that you're playing in, with blissful melodies playing during serene levels of beauty and dark, sinister tunes uprooting from underneath the dark levels as the score sets up the tone for what nightmarish fiends Klonoa may find in its depths. In all, Klonoa Phantasy Reverie Series is a wonderful remaster of two incredibly charming games that delivers less on the extras while honing in on updating the visuals and performance for these fantastic gems. In terms of extras, multiplayer can be initiated at the start of each of the games, with the main player able to get the assistance of another player in the way of extra kicks to your jumps, which can either help or harm Klonoa depending on your partner. This was the same multiplayer feature found in Klonoa 2, and although it's a nice option to have, most players are going to want to experience this as a single-player game, as the game was intended that way. Aside from the aforementioned improvements to performance, up-resed textures, and HD visuals, there isn't anything that stands out as extra bells and whistles for this package. And that's okay, because what's here is top-of-the-line platforming excellence that really shows off how exceptionally well these two games have held up. Klonoa Phantasy Reverie Series goes down as one of the best games I've played so far this year, and has provided several hours of some of the tightest platforming I've had in recent memory. Did I also mention that it's only $40? Please go out and get this game to support the developers who made these gems, as this may be the last chance we get at getting Klonoa 3. Us fans have waited over 20 years for this, so please do your part by supporting this game. I just wish we could get a physical release of this game stateside, as the collectors out there may be dissuaded by not having many options to purchase this game. That being said, what are your thoughts of Klonoa Phantasy Reverie Series? Have you picked up the game yet, or are you thinking of getting it at some point? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also consider shooting that like button with your wind bullets, and double jumping over to the subscribe button while you're at it to see more reviews just like this. I already made a video about Klonoa Phantasy Reverie Series detailing the game before its release, along with numerous other game previews, tips and tricks videos, and more. If that is of interest to you, I'd love to have you subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Thank you all for the awesome support, and I hope to see you good people in the next video. Peace!